Did your high school ever have an incident or event? What was it? My high school had some kind of scandal with a music teacher and an underage boy. The school's reputation was so trashed that they had to change the name of the school to keep people from making the association. A student at my high school shot himself in the chest at lunchtime in front of his ex-girlfriend because she had broken up with him. He did not survive. I used to live in the United States Virgin Islands on a smallish island called St. Thomas, and back in my freshman year, school was called off early within the first few periods of the day, and we weren't allowed to leave the buildings we were in until our parents came to pick us up. No one was really sure what was happening until with AT teams pulled up to the school and started filing out all along the street, and that's when word reached us that a Bengal tiger had escaped within the island, which was a surprise considering the nearest zoo catered to aquatic animals. Once my dad came to pick me up, I was escorted out of the school's gates with AT members covering both sides, and as we left, learned that most of the main town had been occupied by AT teams, which I wasn't even aware we had on the island up until that point, with roadblocks set up here and there, all ready to stop themselves a tiger. The next day, however, we learned that there was not an escaped tiger on the island, but that there was, instead, a lost Bengal cat that had been named Tiger by its owner. That was misprinted in the newspaper as being an actual tiger. That raised a gigantic ducking panic across the whole island. Too long didn't read part. An island was shut down by a ducking house cat. One kid dressed up as the Easter Bunny and was throwing candy off of the senior balcony during a lunch period. I remember everyone being really excited until there was a fight over a specific candy bar. I've never been more excited to see teachers run after someone in a bunny suit in my entire life. We had fight week, 23 fights in 7 days. Doubled the cops in our school. A friend of mine and his girlfriend killed themselves within 2 days of each other after their breakup. It was horrible. Rem had just released Everybody Hurts, and they played it at the girl's funeral to a group of high schoolers attending their second funeral of a fellow student in less than a week. It was rough. The speech and debate club was suspended for 2 years after it was revealed that the officers were embezzling club funds. I went to a very boring high school. Adult family members of an expelled student came to the school and in the middle of class proceeded to beat up the teacher who was the reason he was expelled, and the janitor who came to see what all the commotion was. Teacher had a bloody nose. Janitor had to be taken out on a stretcher with several broken ribs. My college suspended some students for eating breakfast during a lecture. One of the students decided to upload the hilarious suspension letter in FB, which mission suspended for eating or something like that. Pic went viral. Local media caught it. National media caught it. College's day of shame. My high school has a section on its Wikipedia article about the strange incidents that have happened there. The most famous one, it was before my time, but my older sister was there, was the streaker. He greased himself up and ran through the cafeteria, and the police couldn't catch him, so they used a taser. My sister had gone into the separate side room where you buy food, so she didn't see any of it. Just a bunch of shocked, horrified faces when she came back. An assistant principal was arrested for killing his wife and trying to make it look like a suicide. They made a data line or 48 hours mystery about it. I can't remember. He was a petty nice guy, but not to her, I guess. It was 5th grade, and recess after lunch had been cancelled because some parents complained about kids not having enough time to eat. Even though you could be dismissed at any time by a teacher and could take as long as you wanted to eat. Everyone was upset, so this kid named Luke and a few of his friends decided to do something about it. Within minutes, everybody in the cafeteria was out of their minds, screaming "We want recess," swearing, throwing food at the lunch staff, and several people made a break for it and tried to run out of the lunchroom. Luke and a few others were suspended that day, and luckily their sacrifice meant That recess was reinstated for the rest of us. We now simply refer to the incident as the lunchroom riot. During my sophomore year, the student body orchestrated a walkout because most of our electives were being cut to save money. Teachers who were losing their jobs also walked out with us. Classes like auto shop, wood shop, photography, home economics, all gone. The walkout did help as a few were reinstated the following year, while others were after my class graduated. My high school used to allow every other year for the foreign language classes to go to that respective country over spring break. The school decided that the funds weren't there for it anymore, but still allowed people to go if they paid for it themselves, and parents went with them. Anyways, the German class went to Germany, and of course high school age kids will drink over there. Well, the school caught wind and suspended all of them and kicked them out of National Honor Society. The uproar was insane. The school no longer sanctioned the trip nor paid, so they didn't have a right to do that. Since also it wasn't during school time. One of the parents of the students is very rich. They threatened the school by not giving their annual donation. Sure enough, all students were reinstated. Back in middle school, a deer got spooked by one of the school buses and jumped through a classroom window and started wandering the halls. My class then constructed a plan for if that ever happened again. It did not. People slashed all the tires of all the school system's buses and school got cancelled for a few days. It made international news. Still years later, no one knows who did it. A few, I guess. A guy in my year fell out of his bedroom window trying to smoke sneakily. A graffiti tribute was made on one of the school buildings and promptly removed as it was vandalism. Changing rooms were set on fire. I was off ill on the day. Returned to school the following day to find everyone had detention until somebody owned up. I feel it was rather unfair that I was detained when I was off sick. Labs set on fire and copper wire stolen. But we knew who did it and they got suspended. 2 teachers had nervous breakdowns and went stark raving loony in front of students before quitting the teaching profession. Some idiot brought a big tub full of mercury to school once. Spilled it, of course. We had a big hazmat team come to the school and screen all the kids with their gadgets to make sure we weren't gonna develop superpowers or something. Not high school, but 8th grade. Me and the whole boys pair class was pulled out of class for a day so the teachers could sniff out the ninja crapper. Apparently someone was stealth crapping in as many places as they could get away with it. It happened in the school hallway, the urinals, the girls' bathroom, the walls, the cafeteria. If you named it, the ninja crapper probably crapped there. The school never figured out who did it, and this went on for over a month. The mad pooper. This teacher had a classroom next to girls' bathroom. He apparently drilled a hole from his room to the bathroom and recorded people using the potty. From a pretty quiet suburban neighborhood, it was a big deal and he became a registered sex offender. There was this kid with Tourette's who just snapped because no one was helping him. Nobody really liked him since he was rude, attention seeking. He started flipping tables with expensive laptops on them. The school took it seriously and we had a soft lockdown as they took him away from the class. Haven't really seen him since. My school recently banned doing both the Charlie challenge and sending that effective power text crashes people iPhones. Both had a punishment of a 3-day out of school suspension. So many of my classmates got suspended that at one point we only had 5 people in the class instead of the regular 25. I'm so glad that I'm leaving that school. Kid got a broom in his butt and it made national news. Lots of students were pulled out by parents. 2 cadets served some time. The broom never recovered. To that come to mind. This was a small, private, Orthodox Jewish school. In 12th grade, guys started fooling around with the smokers' lighters. One guy lit a desk on fire. Desk was fine except for a few holes and some burn marks. Fire alarm didn't even go off. Principal called us all in to see who will confess. No one did and no one knocked either. So we went home early. Half the class refused to show up the next day too, as the principal never cancelled the suspension. In 11th grade, the administration hired a new president to help with finances and fundraising. Said president found some Zionist fund that gives money to Jewish Zionist schools, which we were not Zionist. That is, we were most definitely Jewish. He decorated a bit, put an Israeli flag by the entrance along with a map of Jerusalem. One guy found the flag offensive, so he tore it down and threw it in the dumpster. Principal later gave a whole speech about how they regret trying to trick people, but taking the flag was just stealing. It gave everyone yearbook material for the next 2 years. Students from my high school and a couple of others nearby, mostly mine, stole upwards of $100,000 in merchandise from Walmart. As I understood it, there were a few who worked as cashiers there. Their friends would come to the register with something expensive like a Nintendo 64, dating myself here, and something cheap like a pack of gum. The cashier would ring up the gum, accept a small cash bribe, and let them walk out with the Nintendo 64. If I remember correctly, there were over 50 students involved, and some minor prison time for a few of them. Fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't cool enough to be involved. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.